Welcome everybody to our final episode of Making Fields Mandatory session. In today's video, we will be discussing data policies. And with you today, your guides, 𝐓𝐀𝐀𝐿, Ulla Norlander, and me, 𝐓𝐀𝐀𝐊𝐿. And we are ready to begin. Let's jump straight into it. So, Ulla.
Yeah.
Stage is yours.
Again? Okay, so for our viewers that's been following along, maybe the ways have been obvious by now why we made this video series in this order. We'll be having some increasing ways of how a mandatory field is enforced. So the final option is mandatory field. Let's go ahead and check it out. Do you want to go to the instance?
Yes. Let me open our beautiful application. Okay, so I presume we can start with creating a data policy. I have already prepared one here. So, Ulla, do you want to say something about the data policies in general?
Yeah. So the data policy is executed on the server side, very much like a business rule is. It's the most restrictive way that you can enforce a mandatory field.
And I presume it's a no-code option, right?
Yeah, it's somewhat limited in the ways you can implement it, because you can see all you can do here is add some conditions to it, and you can set some things as whether or not it should be applied to import sets and so on. But other than that, it's a no-code way of implementing a mandatory field.
Here, as you can see on the record form I've just prepared for you, we have a blank record where short description is populated and active is not true. So if I remove short description, then populate active and try to save.
You need to activate your data policy.
Yes. It's not activated. Let's activate it. And then let's refresh the page here again. And as you can see, if I switch active true and false, the short description behaves differently and reacts on it. So I presume this is why this is where the uses UI policy on client feature steps in, because it's a client side part of this policy. All right. Yeah, this works. What will happen
if you deselect that?
If I deselect
will it show anything?
Let's check. Can I save it now?
It won't. No.
And now I cannot. Now it behaves kind of similarly to the business rule we discussed in the last video, right? On the server side, it checks whether short description is provided or not, and blocks the execution if it's not there, or if condition is not satisfied. So where do we go from here?
So another thing to discuss is, in the first example, it was kind of obvious. It was shown directly on the interface when you check the active or disable the active flag. You could also do this on dot walking and see how it behaves.
So we can work with the requester.
Yeah, let's check for requester department as on last.
Requester department. I think your favorite was sales, right?
Yeah, let's go with that. And apply,
Yeah.
let's go with that. And apply act on UI policy again.
Yeah, so that we can see.
So we now want to enforce the requester should be on the sales department. Then it should be, the short description is mandatory. So selecting Beth.
Good old Beth.
And you saw the short description is now not mandatory marked, but it should be because it's Beth, it's from sales. So
Yeah.
try and save it.
Aha, so the client side is not working in this case.
Yes, it is, but it's not evaluated until you try to save it. Then it's because of the dot walking, it's checking on another table, so it can't set the short description as mandatory until you try to save it.
Because the actual record of Beth is not yet there, so it's basically similar to like a get reference on the client side, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The same behavior would apply on a regular UI policy, but this is data policy, so it's checking in another way.
Yeah, interesting. But was the record? Oh no, of course not, because we have not only the client side, we have also the server side. If I refresh it, the field is empty.
Yeah.
All right, where we go from here?
Let's try and go back to setting it as checking on the active field and look at the list edit.
Okay, let me open the list edit. List view. Good. So on the list view, we have active true and short description. Let us try to modify short description. Make it empty.
Did you not save it? Oh, requester active, not active.
Oh, yes, of course.
Still on dot walking.
Still walking. But let's come here and let's add something first. Then let's try to remove it. And the server side kicks in and we are notified that it's not possible.
Yeah.
What about changing another field, not short description? Can you change in the last record? Yeah, anything here exactly? No, in the last record.
On the last record, which has an empty short description already.
Oh,
so there's the difference.
Look at that.
between dictionary mandatory and data policy. So you can't alter the record altogether unless you apply all data policies. It must be checking and evaluating to true all the data policies.
And now after our previous sessions, kind of when we have all in mind, all the possibilities, the big picture is kind of starting to get together what is what and where you can use it. That's great. I really like it.
Yeah. Great.
Good. So
let's try some scripting.
I presume, yes, now it's time to jump the background script.
Yes, exactly, because viewers could assume that checking this, use this as UI policy could really mean that it's only affecting the UI part, not the scripting part. So therefore, do we still have enabled this UI policy option in the data policy?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
so exactly. Now let's test this on the script.
Let's just change. No, leave short description as is. Just change the description again. I think this record has an empty short description.
and it is enforced. Similarly to the list view where we try to modify the field which is not covered by the policy.
Yeah.
In this case,
And did you hear about this undocumented method set use engine?
Oh yes, exactly.
Oh yeah.
It's a good
But
point.
before we go into that one, let's just try for those advanced scripters and see how does it work with set workflow.
Oh, good point. Nope, it's still there.
No can do.
And can you now use, instead of set workflow, set use engine? Engines, it was in the plural form, right?
What is the arguments? True, false?
False. Engines in the plural form, yes.
All right, let's shoot it.
Oh my god.
It's a different one. What is, I cannot read this. Error description function.
It's not allowed in scope.
It's not allowed in the scope. Okay, then maybe it's only allowed in the global scope, right?
So we can't try it unless we switch to the global scope and try something on the basic application.
We can do this. I can quickly create an incident and make a data policy for incident. Just in case. Just to test.
I think there's already an UI policy on short description. Let's try some category, I think is good.
Good. So we need to make active. And configure data policy rule. A category. So if I open an incident, and I try to, I presume it's also mandatory, right? Or not? It should be. Cannot do this. So now we can try and modify this record using a script. First. As we can see, it's not allowing it. And now if we try it with set use engines and the global scope, it's allowed.
Ooh.
All right. So this is a very...
So now I've learned something today.
Interesting feature which allows you to override it, but in
only in
global scope. All right, where do we want to go from here? Maybe a couple of words about the import sets when we are inserting or updating the records using, I don't know, some external data source and the import set technology, then it will be also enforced there. Sometimes probably not a good idea to have this when you import a lot of data, bulk data, using the bulk data import, and don't want to to lose any records, otherwise the whole record will not get inserted.
Yeah, it should be depending on your needs. If you really want to enforce that data quality, this is a good option, but it's rarely used because there are almost always exceptions, and this is a bit clunky in configuring using exceptions.
I would like to also highlight the cons of data policies because, as Ola already mentioned at the beginning, it's really restrictive, and you don't have control, even especially in complex processes, what's happening behind the scenes. So if a data policy is working, then it often means that, or it can mean that a record is restricted from updating, although you want it in this special kind of process. It's really restricted. It means it works always independent of a user is doing something on a record, or an integration, or the scheduled job, for example. And you have to be sure that you want this. It can make sense, but in my personal opinion, it would be my last choice.
Yeah,
because I lose the control.
This should only be applied like this. Something will break, something will be destroyed if this is not enforced. So it's really used with caution.
Yes, I fully agree with you guys. There is nothing worse than troubleshooting something that you have no control over. And in this case, it's really about the data. And yes, sorry, please, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, no, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. I just wanted to highlight that, therefore, because of what you mentioned before, it's really important to fill in any meaningful description. It could be a reference to a story, so that two or 3 years later, you still know why you have implemented this data policy. What was the initial requirement?
I fully agree. Those fields are there for you to provide information, not to somebody else, but of course it's also for you in a period of time in the future. Use it. All right, there is one more option. Probably we can say just a quick word about if you created a data policy and you think it's too much, there is always an option for you to convert it to a simple UI policy. And as for the data policy rules themselves, as you can see, there are not that many options that are currently available, let's say, for UI policy actions. You can only control readability and mandatory flag on the record. But in most cases, this is what you want if you decided to work with data policies. There is another thing which is coming to our minds when we work with the data policies. We see that there is no order, and there is option to reverse if false, similarly to UI policies, and that makes data policies much more dangerous because creates a potential for conflicting policies, and you should be aware of it. However, we are not going to stop on this particular point today, as the order and the reverse if false features were discussed in the previous videos. Well, guys, this is it for today for the topic of data policies, and with that we will be also closing the mandatory field session. However, the topic remains open. Thank you very much, and see you next time.
Thank you, Ivan. Bye-bye. Thank you, Ola.
Thank you very much. Bye.